So, let's talk about one of the most iconic stories ever written, right? Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I mean, this is a story that's so much more than just a monster movie. It's this incredible, timeless warning about what happens when ambition goes way, way too far, but the dark side of creation and, the absolutely terrifying consequences of trying to play God.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll start with an Arctic ambition. Then we'll dive into the secret of life. After that, things get dark with a hideous creation, and we'll wrap up with the fallout, the first victim.
So, let's get into it. Our story actually kicks off in a pretty unexpected place. Not some gothic castle or a spooky lab, but right here, in the middle of the vast, unforgiving Arctic. And that's where we meet this ship captain, a guy named Robert Walton. He's on this epic quest, just totally consumed by this need for fame and discovery.
And you can feel his ambition just leaping off the page. He's writing these letters back home to his sister, and his words are just on fire. He is absolutely willing to risk it all. His own life, the lives of his crew, just to do something huge, to make a name for himself.
And this really gets to the core question of the whole book, doesn't it? What happens when ambition goes too far? Well, Walton, stuck out there in the middle of nowhere, is about to meet someone who has the answer. And trust me, it's a horrifying one.
So picture this. Walton's ship is completely trapped by ice. They're stuck. And then his crew spots something that just shouldn't be possible. Out on the ice, they see a dog sled. But the figure on it is, well, it's gigantic, and it's moving fast, heading north into the desolation.
Okay, if that wasn't strange enough, the very next day they find someone else. It's a man, looks European, but he's practically a skeleton, nearly frozen to death, just adrift on a chunk of ice. And get this, he tells them he was chasing that first giant figure they saw.
Well, this stranger, as you've probably guessed, is Victor Frankenstein. And he sees a little too much of his younger self in Captain Walton's obsessive ambition. So he decides to tell him his story. Not for fame, not for sympathy, but as a warning. A here's what not to do kind of tale, to stop Walton from making the exact same mistakes.
So now we jump back in time. Victor's story starts back in Geneva. He talks about having a really happy childhood, but even as a kid, he was driven by this intense curiosity, not just about normal stuff, but about the hidden laws of nature, the big secrets.
As he gets older, this curiosity turns into a full-blown obsession with these old, kind of discredited alchemists. And look, he's not just looking for knowledge's sake. No, he wants power. He's dreaming big, like elixir of life big. He wants to wipe out disease and maybe even conquer death itself.
Then he goes off to university, and a lecture from one of his professors, a guy named Waldman, just completely flips a switch in his brain. It's this huge turning point. Suddenly he sees how to connect that old-world magic with cutting-edge science. He realizes that all those crazy dreams of the alchemists, they could actually be possible. Not with spells, but with the almost unlimited power of modern science.
And this one question just takes over his entire life. Where does life come from? He becomes completely obsessed. We're talking spending all his time in some pretty grim places. Charnel houses, graveyards, studying how bodies decay, all to figure out the secret spark of life.
And then, he does it. After all that work, in this flash of what you could call brilliant but also kind of terrible insight, he cracks the code. He finds the secret. He now knows how to bring lifeless matter to life. I mean, think about that. He has a power that no human being has ever had before.
So, now that he has this godlike power, what's he going to do with it? He decides to create a whole new species. He has this vision of creating these beautiful beings who will look up to him as their creator. It's this big romantic dream of being a modern Prometheus, stealing fire from the gods. But that dream is about to turn into an absolute nightmare.
The work itself just completely destroys him. For 2 whole years, he's a ghost. He ignores his friends, his family, his health. He basically forgets what it means to be human. He's just driven by this, as he puts it, frantic impulse. And he sacrifices absolutely everything for this secret, kind of profane project.
All right, so here we are. It's a dreary November night. Rain's hitting the windows, and this is it. This is the moment. He infuses that spark of being into the thing on his table. And it works. It moves. It breathes. It's alive.
But the result? It's an instant, total, soul-crushing disaster. That beautiful creature he dreamed of, in reality, it's a monster, a grotesque horror show. And just like that, in a split second, all that passion and ambition he had
just curdles into pure, gut-wrenching disgust. He literally can't even look at it. He can't stand the sight of what he's made. So what does he do? He runs. He just bolts from his apartment and abandons his creation, his newborn. Can you imagine? Leaving it totally alone, confused, and rejected in its first moments of existence.
After this, Victor just completely breaks down. He falls into this nervous fever that knocks him out for months. When he finally gets better, he does what any of us would probably do. He tries to just forget the whole thing ever happened. Push it down, move on. But you can't outrun something like this. 2 years go by, and then a letter arrives from his dad. And just like that, the past comes roaring back to life.
The news is the worst imaginable. His little brother, William, the sweet kid of the family, has been murdered. And Victor is just filled with this awful, sickening feeling, this dread. He knows, deep down, this has something to do with him. He rushes home to Geneva immediately.
He's almost home, and this massive thunderstorm breaks out. Super dramatic. And then, in a flash of lightning, he sees something in the trees. It's a familiar, hideous shape. It's the creature, his creation. And in that one terrible second, Victor knows for sure. The monster he made is the one who killed his brother. But it gets even worse, if you can believe it. The nightmare just keeps deepening. An innocent person, a young woman named Justine Moritz, who was basically part of the family, gets blamed for the murder, and the evidence against her looks really, really bad. They even find a locket that belonged to William in her pocket. It's like a perfect frame-up.
And Victor, he's completely trapped, paralyzed. He knows Justine is innocent, of course. But what's he supposed to do? Go to the police and say, yeah, the real killer is this giant monster I secretly built out of dead body parts? I mean, they'd lock him up. So he has to just stand there and watch in total agony as another innocent person is about to be destroyed because of his secret.
And this, right here, brings us to the question that has haunted readers for 200 years. With an innocent life on the line, all because of what Victor created, and because of his silence, you have to ask yourself, who is the real monster here? Is it the creature, abandoned and hated from the moment of its birth? Or is it the creator, the brilliant man who unleashed it on the world and then refused to take any responsibility for it?